Om. 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 Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Saram once again to everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar session. I'd like to introduce you to the actual moderator of today's session, who is Auntie Bhavana Kaul, who is the Deputy National Council President of the Sri Sathya SAI International Organization of Australia. Auntie, over to you.
Thank you, Janeet. Namaskar, Om Sai Ram to all of you, and welcome to this webinar session. I would like to begin with offering my prayerful pranams to the divinity that resides within each one of you. Thank you so much for investing the time to come this morning. I know it's a weekend for all of us, and particularly in these very difficult and testing times. So as Daneet said, I'm Bhavana Kaul from Australia, and I am the moderator this morning. Now, the purpose of this session is to continue our ongoing engagement and dialogue with our beautiful SAI family and assist in providing clarity, understanding of the circumstances that have led to the unintended consequences we all are facing due to the current impasse in the negotiations. I'm hoping you will be able to leave the session informed deeply, valued and respected as a member, and a little less overwhelmed, and it'll continue to keep you inspired to serve his institution and mission that he nurtured with love. And in the words of our greatest Sadguru, my love is my greatest miracle. Use this miracle to become his instrument. So the format, to give you an idea for today, is that we're going to have 45 minutes or less than 45 minutes, depends how the panelists go. 45 minutes of sort of giving you some information, but majority of the time will be dedicated to your questions. So please be assured we have a team of us have picked the questions, and we have made sure that we have picked each one of your questions. So, and there will be, of course, an opportunity if we don't run out of time, we'll ensure that we cover all the questions. But if we do, we will make sure that you get your answers out of session. Now, we'll take a few moments to introduce the panelists. So can we start with Leonardo, please? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. I'm Leonardo Guter. I'm a member of the Prashanti Council since its inception. I'm very happy to be here and talk with all of you. Jai Sai Ram. You want me to start my...
No, I'll let all the panelists introduce themselves. Okay. So can we go to Venkat, please?
Sai Ram, everyone. My humble pranams to our very beloved Swami and to each and every one of you. Thank you for taking the time on this weekend to join us. As Sister Bhavana said, my name is Venkat Sadanand, and I'm the chairman of the IT committee of the Sathya SAI International Organization. Jai Sai Ram.
Suresh, would you like to go now?
Yes, Sai Ram. By the infinite grace, love, and compassion of Bhagavan Baba, we have come today for this nice, beautiful satsang. My name is Suresh Govind. I'm the chair of the Sri Sathya SAI Scriptural Studies Committee. Sai Ram.
Thank you. Anupom, thank you.
Sai Ram, my humble pranams at divine lotus feet of my Lord, God and Guru, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and my loving Sai Rams to every one of you on this call today. I am Anupom Ganguli. I'm a director of the Sri Sathya Sai World Foundation and chairman of the International Media Committee. Sai Ram.
Thank you, Anupam. Ashok, Thank you.
Sadanand, good morning, everyone. My humble pranams to Bhagwan. And thank you, all of you, for coming on this call and allowing us to speak to you. I am chair of Zone 5. I am a member of several committees, and I'm fortunate to share the Environmental Sustainability Committee. Like everyone else, first and foremost, we are Swami's devotees. And I acknowledge that. I acknowledge all of you. Thank you, Sadanand.
Thank you, Ashok. And of course, everyone knows Krishnan, whilst he's not a panelist, but of course, he's our zone chair. Krishnan, did you want to say anything, or? You're on mute, Krishnan.
Sorry, Bhavana.
That's all right.
I just want to say Sairam to all our members in Zone 3. Welcome to this session. And I hope you will leave with all your answers to the questions, and will be very pleased to see why you need to stay with the SSIOA. Jai Sairam.
Thank you, Krishnan. We might just get stuck into it straight away. So let's start with Leonardo. Would you like to start?
Yes,
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Well, I offer first my humble pranams at the Divine Lotus feet of our beloved Master and Lord, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And I offer my love to all of you. Swami is in your hearts, and I do pranam to him in your hearts. Dear brothers and sisters, the questions that I was asked is why we don't join the Global Council. This is the first question I received. And I want to tell you something very simple. Because Brother Randakar doesn't want us to join. He walked out from the negotiations we're having. Why we needed negotiations? Because when on November 16, they presented to us the idea of the Global Council, we asked them to wait till we meet, that it was a very important issue and we needed to discuss this in person. Then we told them that at this time of the pandemic, there are things much more important to help our brothers and sisters in the middle of this COVID situation. But they insisted, so they sent us a concept paper, which was the constitution of the Global Council. And this concept paper was really against the divine instructions given by Swami to us. Not only personally to the members of the Prashanti Council and World Foundation, but also these divine instructions were implemented in the guidelines that we have. As that was what was presented to us was so much in contrary to the divine instructions, we couldn't accept them. You know, we as members of this organization, we are part of this organization because we firmly believe that Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba is the embodiment of the omniscient Lord of this universe. And the most important thing for us, the most important spiritual discipline, is not the meditation, the study circles, the service, or doing bhajans. The first and foremost, most important is to follow implicitly and immediately his divine command. The divine command were the instructions given to us by Swami. And this concept paper was containing many things that were against this. So we started to contact the different members of the Central Trust, explaining why we cannot accept this concept paper. And we continue with many, many calls, many mails, many letters. I spoke with several members, with Randakar immediately. He told me not to worry, that they were not going to do anything without our feedback. Then he said, we will never disrupt or disturb the international organization. But 1 week later, they made the announcement without waiting for our feedback. So we continued our communications with them. One day I spoke with Brother Mohan, Dr. Mohan, and he told me, for Leonardo, he said, forget about the concept paper, it's left behind. We are just going to do a consultative and coordinating body constituted by 3 members of the Central Trust, 3 members of the International Organization, and 3 members of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization of India. I liked very much the idea. I told him that I was going to present it to Dr. Reddy and the Prashanti Council members. I spoke with Dr. Reddy. He liked it also. He agreed. But the next day, to our surprise, he received an email from Brother Naganan where he reaffirmed the concept paper again. So we continued like that till on May 30th, we had a online call with them. 4 members of the Central Trust, members of the World Foundation and Prashanti Council, Brother Nimish Pandya were present. We recorded that meeting. In that meeting, they repeated several times that they were not going to disrupt or disturb our structure and functioning. And because of that, we agreed to join the Global Council if 2 conditions were met. One was that they were going to respect their word, not to disrupt or disturb our functioning. And this is in the joint statement that we issue all together. And the second, that terms of reference were going to be developed that will replace the concept paper, and that terms of reference will be agreed by all parties. We're supposed to prepare the first draft. We did that. When we sent that to the Brother Ratnakar, Nimish Pandya, the next day we received an email from Ratnakar saying that we should not call them at all, not send an email, no phone calls, no way of communications. Only we could call them if we unconditionally accept their terms. And dear brothers and sisters, we only surrender unconditionally to Swami. So he abruptly decided to walk away from a negotiation. The idea was for us to present a draft to be discussed. We sent the first draft and they didn't like it. Why they didn't like it? Because they said they liked the first part so much that they took it for themselves, the first 4 or 5 pages. But then in these first pages were Swami statements. But then Ratnakar said that it was missing the most important part, that was the authority power of the Central Trust, the Global Council, the supervision. They wanted to be able to appoint any officer in any position at any time. They wanted to appoint the key officers, the chairman of the international organization. They said that they wanted the executive committee to appoint, recommend the members, but it's only a recommendation. The signature is theirs. Imagine, if in a country the president has a cabinet, the cabinet by majority makes a proposal, but it's up to the decision of the president to sign it. So we cannot believe that what they say now the executive committee will be composed by 27 members of the international organization and 3 members of the Central Trust. This is true and not true, because we might be majority, but we present a recommendation. They have to sign. If they don't like the recommendation, they don't sign. So all this was completely against what the divine instructions given by Swami. We presented to Swami the guidelines. He reviewed them. He made corrections. We presented to him the bylaws of the World Foundation. He made many, many corrections, page by page. He said, this is not going to be good for this country. This is not going to be good for the other countries. Swami created 3 independent organizations. Each one has its own purpose. The Central Trust to manage the ashram, to run these education and health institutions in Prashanti, in Nilayam, and in India. The Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization of India to run the Samitis, and the Sri Sathya Sai International Organization to run the overseas organization. He gave us very precise, detailed instructions. When he formed the Prashanti Council, he invited us to his house, and there he spoke to us at length about our purpose, how we should work, what was the way to conduct and to supervise the international organization. He even in 2006 created the World Foundation, and he made this be published in the Sanatana Sarati. Just to give you an anecdote, when we presented this to the Sanatana Sarati, the convener didn't want to publish. So Dr. Reddy went to Swami and Dr. Golsen, and Swami replied, tell him that this is my divine command. And then they published it. So we were all the time under the direct direction of Bhagavan till November 2010. I spoke not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, with Brother Satyajit, the caretaker of Swami, And he told me that Swami, before leaving his physical body, 2 years before, he told him that he was going to leave his body, and he made arrangements. He created the Managing Council for the Central Trust, he created several committees, but he did not touch the international organization at all, because he thought it was right, it was working exactly as he wanted. To my surprise, when Swami left his physical body, the new Central Trust members dissolved the Managing Council and the committees created by Swami. They didn't follow the divine instructions just from the beginning. For 10 years since Swami left his physical body, we were working in unity, in cooperation. Actually, we're working in unity for 50 years with the Central Trust and the Organization of India. We helped them financially, we helped them with human resources. We helped them when there was a disaster in India and all the efforts for the disaster relief. We always cooperated with them completely. They said that they wanted to create this Global Council for the sake of unity. They created a lot of disunity. They said that they wanted to create it for having more communications. We all the times invited them to our meetings, exchange, give them our annual report. They said, what will happen? We are not anymore. How are we going to be sure that you will be connected to Prasanthi Nilayam? First of all, they forgot that they will die also. So we could ask them what will happen when you die. And this surprised me, because if Swami is the omniscient Lord of the universe, the procedures he left us, the guidelines he left us, will be good for now and forever. So we don't have to worry about that. We are always connected to Prasanthi Nilayam. Dr. Reddy made a discourse in Prasanthi Nilayam about the importance of our connection to Prasanthi Nilayam. He included that as one of the 5 mandates for every Sai devotee. So our office, our only headquarters, physical headquarters, is in Prasanthi Nilayam, where we have a secretary and where all the officers meet twice a year. So dear brothers and sisters, the idea that we have is to continue our work following the divine instructions. I don't care about being seated in the veranda. I care about following the divine instructions given by Swami. This is much more important for me than a privilege of where I'm going to be seated, or if we're going to be able to present a cultural program. First of all, they assure no one can prevent us from going to Prasanthi Nilayam. No one can prevent us to receive an accommodation there. They can prevent us of presenting a cultural program or to sing in the Cycle Band Hall. But is this worth betraying Swami? I hope that all of you will stay in the divine organization created by our Master and Lord, not in an organization created by a human being, by Randakar. I offer my love to all of you. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Leonardo. Thank you very much for that. Can I just, not to waste any further time, can I request Venkat, please, to present the next part of the
Sure.
Thanks,
sure,
Venkat.
sister. Thank you very much. And I do want to let everyone present know I'm unfortunately just recovering from a flu. So if I have coughing bouts, I'll respectfully mute myself. Having said that, I want to very briefly have clarity in this matter, because I think that is really what is needed in this debate. When we started this meeting just now, there was something wonderful in that. We started with a prayer, Sai Gayatri. We all worship and love our beloved Swami, the same Swami. I'm not praying for a Gayatri of some person. We're all loving the same Sai. He is our parent. He's the parent of the people who want to go to GC and the parent of the people who want to remain with SSIO. We are siblings, brothers and sisters. And in that context, before any of us lifts our tongue to speak, let us think about how we would speak to a brother or a sister. The Global Council, as a concept, as an idea, I think is wonderful. Why? Because we have 3 different organizations that Swami set up. And Swami declared that these 3 organizations should be independent. In fact, in the 2014-15 annual report of the Central Trust, that independence is pictorially depicted as the structure of the organizations, the 3 organizations, as well as in statements made in the annual report. So how do we remain independent yet push forward the mission of our beloved Bhagavan? How can we do that? In times and in ages when our culture evolves, when we evolve as people, how do we maintain that coordination? That requires communication. That requires consultations. To facilitate that because of changing times and maintain the independence that Swami wanted, we need a coordinating body. That is the Global Council as an idea. But the Global Council, as it turns out, not as an idea, as what it actually is quite different. Now imagine if I am a car salesperson and I want to sell you a car, and I talk to you about the idea of how fast cars can go. And I say, it's so beautiful to have a car that can go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. And we would all be awestruck by that if you want speed. I can talk about comforts in the car. I can talk about benefits of the car, and I can talk about the privileges of having the car. And we can all be awestruck by it. But supposing the car I actually sell you is a brand that used to be known in East Germany as Lada. This is or in our beloved India, we used to have Fiats and Ambassadors. I can't talk about 0 to 60 in that car. It's pointless. So what is being promulgated, what is being sold is different from the idea of what we need. Let's not talk about whether we are Global Council and SSIO, what is it that this organization, the 3 organizations, what is it that Sathya Sai organizations as a whole requires? What is needed here? Right? That's the question we have to think. Is it, like in that example, is it the 0 to 60? Then let's fix this car so that it goes 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. If that is what we think is needed. What is needed is unity. What is needed is love. What is needed is coordination. But that is not what is actually in the product. What we need is different from what is. And that difference should be in our minds all the time. When somebody tells us about what is needed, immediately your mind should think, hey, but what is? Is what is needed what is? Keep thinking that, because each one of you is extremely smart. You are intelligent, and I respect that intelligence. I respect that you come here out of love for Swami and love for each other. And together we sang the Sai Gayatri, we chanted it. So with that intelligence, don't be confused. Let us think very clearly. The concept of what is needed is different from what actually is. Okay, so that's number one. The second thing is, there was an experiment that there are lots of experiments with lab animals. There was an experiment that was conducted where you keep a cheesecake in a little home built for a rat. And the main ingredients of a cheesecake are cheese and sugar. And the rat would jump to that cheesecake and gobble it up. But I don't know whether this rat is going for cheese or sugar. And the only way to tell that is to separate the two. So then I leave just cheese and see if the rat goes for that. And lo and behold, the rat didn't go for that. But that doesn't mean that sugar is what the rat wants, because it may be that the rat wants a combination. And if you give just cheese, it will say, no, I'm not interested. So now I have to put just sugar and see if the rat goes for that. And lo and behold, the rat ran to the sugar and gobbled it up. So when you have a product with several items mixed in it, the only way to tell what is it that is good for us or what is it that we want is to separate it out and see where we go, right? So you have a product. First thing is the concept is different from what actually it is. So always ask yourself that question, what was the idea and is that really there? Unity is unity there. Peace is peace there. Sathya is Sathya there. Compare what the ideal with what actually is. The second item is, what do you think will happen? Let me give a challenge. The cheesecake challenge, it's called. What do you think will happen to the Global Council and its membership if the benefits and privileges are taken away? It's equal to all. That means nobody has benefits or privileges. By taken away, I don't mean that nobody gets it. Everybody gets it, right? No need to withhold anything. Let the product be sold on its merits, right? You're all intelligent, so think about that. Supposing every one of us, whether you belong to GC or SSIO, can go to our parents' home, Prashanthi Nilayam, and we can do what we want. The same as before, the same rules that we've had for decades, more than 5 decades. What do you think will happen to that membership in GC? Or the other way, so that's the threat, and the other is the benefits. You know, supposing everybody is given a role, right? What do you think will happen? So you want to be part of an organization that is divine. The characteristic of a divine organization is it sustains itself without threats, without bribes, and stands on its own merit. That is divine. So ask yourself this question. Should I belong to a divine organization? I'm not saying come down to SSIO. Please do not misunderstand me. I am saying let us together build an organization that upholds Swami's values, of human values, of Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. We don't want to be Trump versus Biden. We want to be Satya Sai, all of us, just one. There's no verses. And that unity comes about when we have clarity in our minds. Because we love unity. You know, they say that if you do not have that divine satisfaction, you will always feel something is missing in your lives. That's why we joined this organization. We joined this organization so that we don't feel that missing element. So when an organization as a whole cannot stand on its own, it is by definition unstable and definition not divine. Why? Can you imagine? We used to give talks, many of us, Global Council people, SSIO people, our brothers and sisters. We are all brothers and sisters. And we used to give talks. I've given talks about how beautiful the miracle is. I wanted to fly in this plane. I couldn't get a reservation and suddenly things fell into place. Everything happened beautifully. Things falling into place to bring together an outcome, that is a hallmark of divine intervention. Is that happening right now? Are things falling into place to bring about a desired outcome that makes you happy? I'm not going to answer this question. It's for you to answer that in your own minds. Jai Saira.
Thank you, Venkat. Can I now request Anupom, please, to come and do his presentation? Thank you.
Loving Sairams to each and every one of you. So we'd like to go over some of the questions. I have a small presentation that answers one of the main questions. So may I share that with you? And you may be able to get some of the answers that you're seeking from this one. If you give me 1 minute. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Is
we can.
everybody able to? Okay, thank you so much. So again, I will not go over the material that Brother Leonardo and Brother Venkat presented, but pictorially I have just a few slides, 4 or 5, because a picture says 1,000 words. So here are the three organizations started by Bhagavan Baba way back when, and they spread their wings and flew on their own. There is the international organization in charge of international activities. There is the organization in India next to it. And then there is the central trust, which is in charge of the ashram activities, the institutions, which are the medical institutions, the educational in India. And they worked very well for a long, long time. Now, a little bit of history behind this. Let me go to the next chart, and you may find this interesting. There was a World Council formed by Bhagavan in 1975, and the Second World Conference in 1975 was the one where Swami nominated members of the governing board of the World Council. And this included the luminaries at that time, Sri Indulal Shah, Dr. Hislop from USA, Dr. Pani, etc., Rajmata of Navanagar, etc. Time went on, the things grew, and in November 1987, Swami said, and I quote from here, these are his words, "Hitherto we have had a World Council. As there were a smaller number of devotees, it was possible to have it that way. Now the Sai centers have grown on a large scale in overseas countries, more than in India. Therefore, it is not possible for an individual to shoulder the entire responsibility. Hence, we have appointed a president for the Indian organization and given responsibility of overseas organization to the respective countries and discontinued the World Council from today." So the World Council was dissolved by Swami. The 1981 charter that is being quoted as the direction of Swami was superseded by his own command in 1987. And then following that, in 2006, he announced that the Sri Sathya World Foundation will henceforth assume responsibility for the governance of all functions of the international Sri Sathya organizations. The foundation will work together with Prashanti Council to accomplish the administration of these organizations. These instructions were given directly to Dr. Narendranath Reddy, Brother Leonardo Gutter, Dr. William Harvey, and other members of Prashanti Council who were present at that time, 15 years ago. Moreover, Swami expanded the council in 2006, and in the foundation, he appointed Dr. Michael Goldstein, Dr. Narendranath Reddy, former vice chancellors of the Sri Sathya Institute of Higher Learning, CSV Giri, as directors. Between 2006 and 2011, Swami personally guided the setup, the rules, the charter, the guidelines, all of this organization. Brother Leonardo is proof to that. Dr. Narendranath Reddy is proof to that. Dr. William Harvey is proof to that. They were available and they were present. The directions given by Swami were encoded in the charter. The World Foundation is a legal body. It is incorporated in the USA. The Prashanti Council has members all over the world. So does the World Foundation. You may be asking, some may be asking, where is the headquarters? I think Brother Suresh Govind has a presentation on this. I'll defer to him. But very succinctly, the headquarters of both organizations are in the hearts of Swami. We have members all over the world, and we have an office in Prashanti Nilayam. We are not losing touch with Prashanti Nilayam, neither are we abandoning Prashanti Nilayam. In fact, we are holding on more and more tightly to Prashanti Nilayam, no matter what happens. Here is a further of the announcement in December 2006. The board was expanded to include more members. Furthermore, later on, Sri Chakravarti himself announced that this organization, I will not play this clip, he announced it's available for you if you want. He announced that the Central Trust has no jurisdiction on the international organization. He's currently a trustee of the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, but at that time, he worked with Swami, but he was not a trustee at that time. Here is the organization chart from the Central Trust report, which shows that the international organization and Prashanti Council are outside the purview of the Central Trust. This has been like this for a long, long time. So the question now becomes, why is the international organization like to be working autonomously? We debated this question, brothers and sisters, for a while, and we are present right now in 107 countries. We were present in 120 before November. Now we are present in 107 countries. And the majority of the officers and devotees came up with the following determinations. One, we'd like to follow Swami's divine command immediately, implicitly, and completely. This has benefited all of us throughout our lifetime. For many, many, many years, it has benefited the organization which has been serving the world. We'd like to continue. Two, we have worked autonomously over 5 decades under the guidance of Bhagavan as drafted through these guidelines and charters. We like to continue that. We would not like to deviate from what has been set up by the avatar of this age, and we like to continue. Thirdly, the 1981 charter that has been quoted by the Central Trust is not valid. It was dissolved by Swami. No appointments were ever made by the Central Trust because, one, this was not Swami's divine command. I'd encourage you to listen to the video interview by Brother Robert Baskin, longtime devotee of Swami, with whom Swami had long conversations about this issue. It's available on our website. Please listen to it. You'll hear Robert reporting exactly what Swami told him. Swami never intended the Central Trust or India organization to oversee, manage, or control the international organization. The appointments were always made with Swami's divine blessing and his directions up to 2011. And after Swami left his form, the appointments were made according to the charter, according to the consensus. All these appointments are made by consensus and general discussion, never by a single person, never by an authority. And lastly, if you are worried about Prashanti Nilayam, be assured that nobody can deny you the right to visit, pay your respects, stay there as we all have been doing before. The question of whether certain privileges can be given to you or not is being looked into. That is a question. We have no animosity. I'll tell you frankly, we have no animosity towards the Central Trust members or the General Council members. We just like to continue serving Swami and all of humanity as we have done before. So brothers and sisters, that's a quick update. Sister Bhavna, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Anupom. Now, can I request Ashok, please, to come on?
Sadanand, thank you so much, sister. I just want to limit my short presentation to explaining why we are in the state we are in, what are the issues, and what is the way forward, perhaps. The issues really come down to a disagreement as to the structures and functions of the international organization. Both sides have spoken at length in town halls, and everyone has sort of heard one or two of those town hall conversations. And there seems to be a discrepancy in the message because the Central Trust focuses on unity. They say we don't want to control the international organization. They speak about the composition of the Executive Committee 1 of the Global Council Charter, where they say there are 27 members of the international organization in that, and there are only 3 trustees, and they say they don't understand why we are so concerned about control. And I'd just like to address some of these points, only because people can understand the facts and the reasons why we disagree. And then we leave it to all of you to make your own judgments. So let me begin by referencing 3 documents, which I would encourage all of you to look at. Ask your national chair presidents, ask your zonal chair, your central coordinators for copies of that. The first is the original concept paper that the Central Trust published in November 2020, which set out their plan for the Global Council. The second is a paper, a terms of reference for the Global Council that the international organization served on the Central Trust after the 30th of May meeting, 2021, when it was agreed we would try to work together to come together with the terms of reference and hopefully agree and put an end to this misunderstanding. So that was our terms of reference we sent to them. I'd encourage all of you to ask your leaders for a copy of that. The third document I'd ask you to look for is the final draft of the terms of reference put forward by the Central Trust, which was the version they insisted upon and which they walked away from the negotiations in June 2021. And this led to the breakdown and disagreement we find ourselves in. So those are the three documents. And I urge you to look at it yourselves, because then you can form your own judgments and you don't need anyone to tell you what is right and what is wrong. So let me just highlight some of the things you will see in those documents. And those are really, really important because they will enable you to form your own views as to what the Central Trust is saying. In relation to the November 2020 document that they put forward, I simply want to highlight 3 points to you. And that was a document of the Central Trust. The first point they said is all the trusts in India and around the world should come under the authority of the Central Trust. Now, this has never happened before, and I've been an officer for 28 years. And so the first question to ask is, well, why do they want authority over all the trusts all over the world? And what are the legal ramifications for that? So that's the first matter. The second matter in relation to control of appointments, which you'll find in the original document in November 2020, they wanted to have control of the appointments in that original document. And by that, I mean the appointments in the international organization. Now, I don't need to say more about that now because that has carried forward into their latest document. The third point they made, and this is really, really important, and this really let the cat out of the bag, because at page 7 of the 7-page document, when they dealt with the powers of the trust, the very first point they said is the Global Council will follow all the instructions, guidance, orders, and be bound by these given by the Central Trust. And they must, the Global Council must implement these orders, instructions, guidance expeditiously. So if one just steps back and say, the whole plan was to establish a Global Council, but in their own documents, they were talking about the Central Trust controlling things. And at the end of page 7, they themselves said, these trusts will control the Global Council by its orders, instructions, and guidance, which must be expeditiously followed. Now, I leave it all to you. Why did they put that clause in? So moving along, when we came to know of their intentions, it caused a great deal of concern to the international officers. And in the beginning of December, over 100 representations were made to the Central Trust to say, please, please, just hold off. Let us come together when we can all come to Puttaparthi and we can talk face to face like brothers. The managing trustee did in December 2020 send out a number of emails. And in none of those emails and in none of the town halls that they subsequently have had all over the world, have they addressed the concerns of the international officers that arose because of their original concept paper. In fact, they were saying things about wanting unity, wanting a common platform, not seeking to control, but that was not consistent with their own original document, where, as I say, the cat was let out of the bag. There was a lot of confusion and there were conflicting versions being put forward. And in about early May 2021, Dr. Reddy reached out to the trust and said, can we talk? For the sake of the devotees, can we come together and see if we can bridge our differences? And that meeting was held on the 30th of May 2021. and I was fortunate to be part of it. And it was a friendly conversation. And we left off by saying the international organization is willing to join the Global Council for the sake of bringing everyone together on two terms. First, that the structures and functions of the international organization will remain intact. Now, the reason the international organization was insisting upon that is because that is what Swami gave us, and Brother Leonardo has spoken about that. The second point about that is that actually should not have been an issue, because in the agenda item for that 30th May meeting, the Central Trust proposed it as an agenda item, that the structures and functions of the international organization would not change. So we thought that was a simple hurdle to cross. The second condition was that we should work together and prepare terms of reference which we could all agree upon, that unity that they were talking about. And so if one steps back and say, we had a conversation, we provisionally agreed we were willing to join, there were two conditions, but they were short hurdles. They were low hurdles, easy to cross. Based on that, the international organization put together its own terms of reference, which we sent to them. And that's the second document I urge all of you to read. Because if you do read it, you will see we started it with Swami's mission. And we spoke about how that unity between the three organizations could take place, how we could work together, how we could have a joint mission, how we could have a joint vision, joint implementation. And we then, in a section called Jurisdictions and Appointments, reiterated what they had said to us in that 30th May meeting. The structures and functions would not change, which means that the appointments would remain within the bylaws and protocols of the international organization, which, as Brother Leonardo told you, Swami had carefully blessed and reviewed. So that is what we sent to them. They came back, as Leonardo told you, largely adopting the general provisions. But when it came to jurisdictions and appointments, they removed everything we said, and they came up and they insisted on 2 points. The first point was that the Central Trust would appoint the head of the international organization. Full stop. The second point they said is the executive committee of the international organization would make recommendations for the officers of the international organization. By that we mean the Prashanti Council, the World Foundation, the zone chairs, i.e. all the senior officers. And the chairman of the Global Council, who's a trustee, Suresh Chakravarti, he would sign off on those appointments. Now, just pausing here, it's important to bear this in mind. In the town halls conducted by the Central Trust, they have said, these are mere formalities. We will act on the recommendations. And they've said things in various forms conveying that. But if you look at their documents, the authority to appoint the chair of the international organization, the authority of the chairman of the Global Council, Sri Chakravarti, to sign off, those are absolute authorities. There's nothing in their 2 documents which says the decisions of the Executive Committee 1 would be a majority decision. There's nothing in their documents which say the signing off would be mere formalities. There's nothing in their 2 documents which say they will simply implement what the Executive Committee 1 says. Their powers are absolute. And so when they tell you, well, we don't know what the international organization is worried about because there are 27 members in the Executive Committee 1 from the international organization and only 5 from the Central Trust. What they don't tell you is that the devil is in the detail, is that they seek to control in absolute terms the appointments over the international officers. And that's important because once they control the appointment of the international officers, they control the decisions of the international officers in Executive Committee 1. So that's where the dispute came. And that is what the final position was of the Central Trust. And when there was an exchange between the international organization and the Central Trust to try to negotiate these points, which we thought were low hurdles based upon what they had said to us in the May 30th meeting. They don't want to be disruptive. They don't want to control. The structures and functions are to remain unchanged. When they said all that, we thought it was a low hurdle, but that was precisely what caused the breakdown. And so the question I leave all of you with is this: if it is a mere formality, then why did they walk away from the conversation and insist upon that power of control? So I'll leave that all with you. But I just want to make one last point, if I may. I know everybody is full of anguish about our relationship with Prasanthi Nilayam. I have been going to Prasanthi Nilayam. The first time I went was in 1989. It is my father's home. It is my mother's home. I would be very anxious if I thought I could not go. And I fully understand your concern. But the one thing I've come to accept in my heart is, first and foremost, my connection is with Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And I have seen his hand in my life in Hong Kong. And I've just had a death in the family, which has caused me to apply for emergency exemption from the Hong Kong government, where I was doing quarantine in Hong Kong, to come back to Singapore. It's required me to apply for exemptions from the Singapore government once I arrive back to go to a funeral. Swami has made it all possible. And what I'm saying to you is this: when Swami spoke about, when he said many, many years ago, love my uncertainty, I confess to you, when I first heard it, I never understood it. And I thought, well, that's a funny thing to say. We all want certainty. But I have come to understand, when he says, love my uncertainty, what he really means is have full faith and confidence in Sai, and surrender to Sai's will, and everything will be okay. And all I want to say to you is my experience in the last 2 days, traveling from Singapore to Hong Kong, being in quarantine, having a death in the family, flying right back to Singapore. Swami made it all possible. And so I urge all of you, these are uncertain times. These are times of great anxiety. I fully understand that. But when Swami says, love my uncertainty, embrace it, have faith, have courage in him, he will give us what we need for our spiritual growth. Om Sathya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashok. And I just for our participants, I would like to, offer my condolences to Brother Ashok, because he has lost his father-in-law only yesterday, and he has made it for our session this morning. So we really do appreciate you being here, despite all the difficulties. Thank you. Now on to Brother Suresh. And can I request that, because I would like to go into the questions. Are you there, Brother Suresh?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Sister Bhavana. This is the question that some people always ask, and I'm not sure how this question has come about. Prasanthi Council or another country or USA maybe, we may lose our connectivity to Bhagavan. We may lose our connectivity to Prasanthi Council. So this is the fear that some devotees always have or have been having since this confusion started. So this presentation is on Prasanthi Nilayam, our home, unity, our life breath. You see, it was always emphasized in Prasanthi that Prasanthi Nilayam is our home, the home of our beloved. All of us, even myself, everybody, this is our home. No one can deny it and no one can change it. In 2013 and 17, Dr. Reddy himself have delivered talks in Sai Kulwan Hall, encouraging all devotees to make it as a mandate to visit Prasanthi Nilayam, the holiest of the holy places, the abode of our Divine Master. This is the place. This is our spiritual headquarters. SSIOA office, there is an office there, as what our panelists have said, there is an office there in Prasanthi Nilayam. And this is the office that actually helps to coordinate all our activities, and we are in touch with them. our board meetings, the Sathya World Foundation board meetings are always held in Prashanthi Nilayam since 2006 until the pandemic. Now we are not able to travel, but otherwise every year, 2 times they meet. The board meetings are always conducted in Prashanthi Nilayam. SSIO in the past, we continue to share reports, bulletin, annual reports of all the activities with our Indian counterpart as well as with the Central Trust members. This has been going on. So we always thought that there was this amazing coordination, and we all thought that we are such a big, happy, jolly family. And SSI has always been transparent in all initiatives and have in the past collaborated jointly with Central Trust to organize many cultural programs as well as conferences, because this is our home. We have been doing this, in all these years that we have been going on. If you notice that in the past, SSIO has never micromanaged activities as evidenced by the organic growth. If you have micromanaged, they should be stifling. Originally, in the early years, there was 1 or 2 committees. Now we have got 13 international committees comprised of leaders from all over the world who manages that. And they are not micromanaged. They are allowed to foster, allowed to grow. And that is how we have all been doing so for so many years. Decisions have never been taken unilaterally with one person making all decisions. I want to just emphasize this unilateral decision making. You can decide, you can check this with your own family. Tomorrow you can check. The father of the family says, hey guys, come on, tomorrow, 2 weeks time, you're going to the mountaintop for a holiday, and I've got the tickets, and you all get ready. Wife is surprised, children are surprised, everybody is surprised. Hey, you said we'll go to the beach side. I want to go to the beach side. The children say, no, I have decided we must go to the mountaintop, and there is a conflict. In any case, 2 weeks time, we are all sitting in the car, but none of them are happy to go towards the holiday resort. So what does it mean? If you make a unilateral decision, people will be unhappy, even in a family. So how can suddenly on 23rd, one person just stand up and say, oh, we have decided that this is how it is going to be. This is how we all are supposed to move forward, without consultation, without deliberation, without discussion, without meeting, without workshops. How then are we going to reconcile? The 16th November is the day in which the first official notification came onto the desk of Dr. Reddy, 16th November. 7 days later, 23rd November, they announced. Within 7 days, they announced of this amazing merger concept that they have had, without any deliberation. Obviously, people are shocked. People do not know why such a unilateral decision is taken. Of course, when questioned, the response has come that, oh, this has been in discussion for 7 months, 8 months. But look, you can have corridor discussions and coffee shop discussions, but the main important thing is the official notification of a paper officially came until the 16th. And until then, none of the leaders knew this was happening. So when a unilateral decision is made, this is a reaction. And that is why everybody is in anguish, everybody is in confusion, everyone doesn't know exactly what to do. So this is what unilateral decision is made. But in SSIO, every decision that is made is collectively made with the directors of the Sri Sathya Sai as well as the members of the Prashanthi Council member. They call for a meeting. Every decision is collectively made. Not one individual there makes a single individual. Even a small decision is collectively made with a consensus in order for it to move forward. Decision at the country level, zone level are made by respective coordinators, chairs with little interference from SSIO leaders. Nobody, as you can see, even the selection processes are all done by the respective zone coordinators or the respective NCPs. SSIO leaders don't micromanage even in this basis, because Bhagwan's instruction was that every country should have its own leadership consistent with local laws, culture, and customs of each country. The decentralized empowerment has allowed seamless operation and excellent delivery of meaningful programs by the SSIO for so many decades. This is how it's going. So really speaking, devotees suddenly say, oh, we feel disconnected. Why? Because if you want to go to Prashanthi Nilayam, you can go with your children and family, and you can go, because that is what the assurance has been given, that it is not denied to any member, whether you're a GC member or non-GC member. You can go and sit, be there. Okay, the next question is sitting privileges maybe. But sitting privileges right now, Bhagavan, here, anywhere you sit in Prashanthi Nilayam, it's okay, because that's what it is. You are there, and then you stand in line and go for the Mahasamadhi Darshan. The only thing is that presentations, and even presentations is small percentage numbers, but even then we are seriously looking into it. In one of the discussions also, they said very clearly, where if there's a slot, definitely it will be given to us. So maybe we should inform them much earlier, create a slot, maybe not in the packed period. It can be done, it can be organized. I mean, this is something that we really need to look at. So one should not compromise our own principles based upon one or two simple things like this. It's what we people must understand. Why are we having this difference? This difference is based upon principles, and decision-making processes must be based on strong principles based upon the teachings of Sathya Sai Baba. So the main thing is that what Brother Leonardo said and Brother Anupom stressed was that command. For so many years he has done that. The documentation is there, and he has fostered that. So based upon that, we are holding on to it in order for, he did not to decide that. If he wanted to do that, he would have done it when he was around, but he did not do it. So then why suddenly this reaction? Why suddenly this organization? Why suddenly this movement? And that is what this whole confusion is all about. So I just want to conclude by stressing 3 points. Prashanti Nilayam is our home. We always can go to it, which is what that has been assured to us. And we hope that in the future that even the presentation we can discuss and talk about it, and that's not really a closed door. So this is where we are right now. Thank you so much, Saira.
Thank you. Can I request all the panelists to turn on their cameras so we can move into the question answer session? Thank you. Now, I think obviously what I can sense through the sessions that you all have presented is that it is, we all know that it is a lot of anguish that people are facing, and we are acknowledging that anguish and respect people's feelings, and that the leadership, while it should not be considered bureaucratic, is still working very hard to make sure that to assist members to overcome their anguish. So I would like to go into some easy, some difficult questions. So I will try and direct them to the right panelists, but if you don't think you're the person, please pass it on to the right person. So the first question I have is, the disagreement was evident first on January 21st. Why has it taken so long to tell all of us? So would Leonardo want to go on that one, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Sairam. First of all, we started immediately on November 16, trying to overcome this disagreement. We called them, we spoke to them, we explained to them that we wanted unity, but without compromising the divine instructions. So we didn't inform the international organization about what's happening, because we met with all the zonal chairs, we met with several central coordinators, deputy central coordinators. They were informed about what was happening, but we want to disturb the devotees if a solution could be achieved. I want to add something very important, that, you know, Swami came here to uplift human consciousness for all humanity. He came as, he formed the SAI organization to help its members to realize their divine self, and to help all the other members of this humanity to advance in their spiritual awakening. When he formed the Prashanti Council, he invited us to his house, and there he told us something that it's in our hearts. He said, go to every corner of the world and bring my message. So he didn't say, come only to Prashanti Nilayam and stay here, come to sing here, come to do service here. He said, go to every corner of the world and bring my message. So we need to understand that we need to advance in our spiritual awakening, and we must help our brothers and sisters to move forward in their spiritual awakening. Don't focus only in Prashanti Nilayam. Prashanti Nilayam is everywhere.
Well, whilst I do understand that, Brother Leonardo, but I suppose for a lot of members, that seems to be one of the key things that they tend to focus on. But is it fair to say that the landscape that you were dealing with while you were negotiating with the Central Trust was shifting, and that was one of the reasons that you were finding it hard to communicate with the members in terms of what the real situation was?
No, from the beginning, from the first call I had with Randakar about this, on November 17, I think, he asked me to replace Dr. Reddy. From the beginning, he wanted to dismantle the international organization. In spite of that, we continue our efforts to reach unity. We had this meeting on May 30th. They walk out. When you start the negotiation, you continue, you receive a draft, you say, I like this, I don't like that. and you continue to you reach an agreement. You don't walk out in the first moment. So our doors are open, our hearts are open. If they agree to respect Swami's divine instructions, we are willing to speak to them tomorrow, today, tonight.
I want to add something to it, Sister
Sure.
Bhavna.
Sure, absolutely.
I would like to share with you the chronology of the discussions we have had with the Central Trust. If you can see my screen, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the starting November 16th, Naganand's email with the attachment of Global Council concept. And I will not go through this detail, but here is the chronology from November 16th to November 23rd, December 3rd. All of these are communications or actions between the Central Trust and the SSIO leadership. Here is Leonardo Guter, LG stands for Leonardo Guter, Dr. Mohan's call to Reddy, my call to Dr. Mohan, and then it goes on with the different items that we had, and I'll show you one of the main items here. On 26th May, there was an email response by the managing trustee, Mr. Ratnakar, to Dr. Reddy accepting the invitation. And one of the agenda items was reiteration of SSCT's assurance of not disturbing the structure and function of SSI and SSSO. And following that, an announcement was made. There was a meeting on 30th May in which I was fortunate to participate along with others, along with the trustees, and we sent out the note for joint statement. There were many calls exchanged following that between Dr. Reddy, Nimish Pandya, and Mr. Ratnakar, and they agreed to work together for terms of reference. All of these are recorded here. This is available to whoever wants to see it. On June 19th, the managing trustee responded by making major changes and saying that the appointment of the key leaders and dismantling of the international committees was a priority for him, and that without this, there will be no acceptance. We replied back and we thanked the managing trustee, and all the officers got together and they said that we like to obey the divine command of Bhagavan and follow the bylaws of World Foundation. We have no problem working in unity, but the divine command, truth and right conduct, Sathya and Dharma, we cannot, we will not, and we should not abandon. We said that clearly. On June 26th, he replied back saying that the door is closed. There will be no dialogue, calls, or emails accepted. This is a direct quote from him. Managing trustee closed the doors. And then the Global Council website was open for registration by overseas countries, saying that SSIO countries are already part of the Global Council, which is not true. And so from there on, we addressed a letter explaining our dismay. Our doors are always open, but they do not want to work with us on this issue. And therefore, there is no further dialogue about this. I want to share one other item that has come up repeatedly in the question answers and the chats, and that is regarding what is our position regarding working with them. Now the split has happened, that we did not want. We need to follow Bhagavan's primary teaching of love, compassion, and peace. We need to all internalize this and then make it happen. So here is our position. Any devotee anywhere in the world can join an international organization center meeting for bhajans, study circles, etc., whether they belong to a global council, to a religious group, to a sect, or any organization. As long as they don't disrupt the working of the center, it is open to all. During the saga with Modanali, we had the same approach. People who belong to Modanali group used to come to the centers and sing bhajans with us, fine. However, a Global Council member or officer cannot canvass or lobby or influence others in joining the Global Council. This is a place of worship of peace and love. We don't want it disrupted. In case this happens, then we are requesting that they should leave politely but very firmly, that they cannot disrupt. But we are open for working with them always. Regarding official positions, The Global Council officers have advised different countries, national presidents, as well as international officers, that you cannot belong to both. If you're a country or if you are a zone, if you want to belong to one, then you cannot belong to the other. This is their position, and we have proof of that. There is an email sent by one of the Global Council officers. So I hope this clarifies two items.
Yeah, thank you, Anupom. I think you've answered that particular question around terms of membership for individuals. Now, the next question I have is, has the SSIO or GC, well, let's just focus on SSIO, had the opportunity to have meetings with a panel of mediators? I believe, and there's a lot of rumor that 20 people have put up their hand and said, we will come along and help you out. Can one of the panelists respond to that? Is it Leonardo or Venkat?
Yes,
Actually, Leonardo, should I just add this?
Sure.
At the 30th May meeting,
Mhm.
Dr. Reddy proposed a mediation.
Mhm.
And he actually requested that one of the trustees, who's a former judge, a very senior respected judge, Uncle Kirka, that he should be the mediator, and we would accept that mediation. And unfortunately, Uncle refused. He did not want to do it. And that's why it was agreed that we go into a sort of a team whereby Dr. Reddy would speak directly to Sri Ratnakar and Sri Nimesh Pandya. And so therefore, the idea of a mediation was proposed by us using one of the trustees as a mediator, who we had full confidence in, but that was refused. Leonardo, over to you.
Yes, it's very important. I want to reiterate this. How can we have a conversation with them, with a mediator, if they don't want to speak with us? Ratnakar said very clearly, don't call us, don't email us, don't have any contact with us unless you surrender unconditionally to their terms. So there's no way. We are willing to speak to them, but they don't want to speak to us. They only want our full unconditionally surrender.
I think that that answers, but I suppose a lot of members on the ground feel when there is an impasse like this, maybe a third party would help. But I think you have clarified that in your comment, I think, Leonardo.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I worked with a third party who was talking with them, with Naganand, with Ratnakar, trying to mediate. They don't want, let me tell you this. We were using a mediator trying to reach out to them and convince them to speak to us. There's no way. They don't want to do that. After Ratnakar decided to walk out, we even tried even harder, but they don't want to speak to us.
Let me add one thing very clearly. The entire goal that we are seeing now, as Brother Ashok Sakhrani has gone through, is to dismantle the organization structure that Swami started, guided, and nurtured. And that is not acceptable to international organization leaders in 107 countries. There are over 100 senior officials. These people are not there for positions. We come and go. The organization will go forever. It's your choice, everybody's choice, whether they want to be part of the organization started by the avatar or not. This discrimination is part. We are here to provide the facts only. We cannot make any decisions for you. The decisions are all yours. But we need to respect with love and dignity the positions of others. And you need to have the facts with you. Swami says the first step to spirituality is discrimination, viveka. If you read the Sutra Vahini, that is the first step, viveka, then vairagya, then shat sampat, and then mumukshvata. The first step is viveka. Use your viveka, please, and decide what's good for you. That is what this is all about. Sai Ram.
But I suppose at the same time, we, which I think we all were talking about it earlier, that different members are at different points of transformation. So some do have the great desire to be linked to Parthi, some don't, and we're all, and we respect that difference. And I think the organization has always loved and respected differences in members.
But sister, we are always linked to Parthi.
Absolutely.
We are never unlinked and
Absolutely.
never will be. It's just a question of semantics and, language, and this will pass. This will pass.
So can I ask, the other question is around, and the two questions are linked. How are we planning to progress from where we are now? And is there a danger that the office that we talk about, which is only bricks and mortar office in Harti that we have, is there a danger that we no longer will have that office?
We will continue. Let me tell you. I think all of you have been witnesses how the Sri Sathya Sai International Organization is growing and is working each day with more excellence. We're going to continue to do that. We will continue collaborating with the Central Trust. In spite of all these differences, we have continued sending donations to them. 4 weeks ago, $80,000. 6 weeks ago, $50,000. Every donation we receive, we send it to them. We have offered them oxygen concentrators to Nimish Pandya. He happily agreed to receive them. We prepare all the arrangement to send them, and the next day he received an instruction from Ratnakar not to receive any help from us. So we had to send the oxygen concentrators to another organization in India. We even sent to Sri Sathya Sai organization in India the oxygen concentrators. So we are planning to continue working as we are for the last 50 years. We'll continue our work, we'll continue our sadhana, we'll continue helping Prashanti Nilayam and the Central Trust. That is what we are planning to do, and with the Swami's divine grace, we'll continue to do that for the next, I think, 10,000 years, more or less.
Thank you. Now, the next question is, does the establishment of the GC as a breakaway group, if we can call it as that, create two groups in each of the countries where that has occurred? So because I think, can I just give you context to that? I think a lot of members have been taken by surprise. I know in Australia they have, where they think that by joining the GC, they didn't quite understand that it was actually going to create a divide between SSIO and GC. So I think this is probably a question in relation to that. So do we see it as two streams, two organizations?
I don't understand very well the question.
So I think the question is that because GC has been created, does that mean that each country will obviously have two groups of Sathya Sai organizations in each country?
I hope not. I hope there are many areas. For example, in Latin America, there is no confusion. In Africa, there is almost no confusion, but in South Africa, in the Eastern European countries, there is no confusion. In Europe, other than UK, there is no confusion. As Brother Anupom said, 107 countries decided to stay with us. So I hope that there will be not two organizations in each country. And if they are, well, let's continue. We don't have to worry about that. We have to continue our work. This is a personal decision for each member. If, as Brother Anupom said, if you want to continue in the organization created by the Purna Avatar, or if you want to continue in the organization created by Ratnakar. This is a personal decision. You take a decision and then you do your sadhana in the organization that you choose.
I want to add something to what Brother Leonardo said quickly. Sure. I'll share with you some facts around the world because, we are absorbed in this. We do work for Swami 10, 12 hours a day, every day. In many countries of the world, people have been caught by surprise that they join Global Council without their knowledge.
Yes.
The center president or the country president signed them up. Once they found out the truth and the facts that are being presented, they want to come back. And a large number of centers are coming back. What I recommend is if anybody wants to come back, they should contact the SSIO representative in that country or in that zone, and they will arrange for it. The communication is being sent back to the Central Trust that they are not part of Global Council, they'll come back. But each decision, as Brother Leonardo said, is your decision, your own. We can just present the facts to you. We cannot force anything, and that should not be done. People should not be forced, abused, or bribed or given things. They should just make up their minds on their own basis.
Sister Bhavna, if I could just add to that.
Sure, absolutely.
we hope it doesn't create a big split. But unfortunately, we are seeing signs of that already as the Global Council are appointing national officers in a variety of countries. And one thing one must bear in mind is that the whole Global Council has its own structure, and the apex of the Global Council is the Central Trust. And the authority and direction will ultimately come from there. And so it's not consistent to be part of the Global Council where the authority will ultimately come from the Central Trust. And the international organization where Swami, by his divine command, entrusted the World Foundation and the Prashanti Council to administer all centers. So organizations and structurally, there will be two. But I think that's where we step back and we say, if the assertion is that the Central Trust did not want to be disruptive, if they did not want to create disunity, and if they can see that their actions has caused disunity and has been so disruptive, one would have hoped that for the greater good of unity, they would have stepped back. And so I think that many of the questions should be asked of them, why they proceeded when there was so much grave concern about their structure they were forming and the consequences of their structure. And really, they should answer to that. Sada.
Sister,
One more
let
point.
me have something. Suresh, excuse me just 1 second.
Please.
You know, we heard just a few moments ago that they said that their signature on the appointments is just a formality. You remember that? They said that. Well, through the mediator, we told them, if this is a formality, then why don't you remove that formality and we will be able to be united? If you say that the appointments will be done by the majority of the members of the executive committee, then let's do it. Don't put this formality that it's avoiding the unity that you want so much. They don't want to retrieve that formality.
And I think I really do appreciate Brother Ashok's comment that these are questions that we do need to ask of the Central Trust, because I think what is quite apparent is that the SSIO has made numerous attempts to be able to negotiate, to work through a unified approach, because the disagreement wasn't on the fact that the concept of Global Council is definitely a way to go. That wasn't something that we disagreed with, but it's how we go about it is what has been the sticking point. Now, I just want to, sorry, Suresh.
I just want to say, this is to the devotees. See, ever since we were born, right up to the death, we make decisions. Material people also make decisions, spiritual people also make decisions. Then what is the difference between the two decision-making processes? Is that the spiritual people make decisions on spiritual principles. So the point here is that this is a wonderful opportunity for spiritualists like us. So when an examination is being set, we now need to answer that question. So basically, when you're answering that question, you need to invoke all your spiritual knowledge and ask those questions. Because in Jnana Vahini, the opening paragraph says, unless we question, we cannot get the answers. In fact, Bhagavad Gita is all about questions. All the Upanishads are about question, answer, question, answer. So we need to question. Questioning time, we need not worry, oh, this person is going that way, or that person is going that way. Because that person or this person is not going to give me liberation, by the way. See, when I die, I go alone. Nobody will come. Even the SSIO will come only to one member, or these GC members only will come, member Sai Ram, and chant the Triyambaka mantra and push us into the fire. I go alone and I have to meet my maker, you see. So the whole point here is that I need not look at people. I must make my individual decision making. So when I make my individual decision making process, I need to question. So now I question how I question by questioning my hey guys, why? Oh no, you'll be connected. What do you mean by connection? What is this connectivity you're talking to me about? You see, I can come out of Prashanti Nilayam, but can you take Prashanti Nilayam out of me? It's a question that nobody can take that out of me. So the question is privileges. You mean to say just because of these privileges, I need to, now I check and see. Now you look at spirituality. I'm now, because from the perspective of scriptures, I'm saying this and I'm addressing to the devotees. Look at all the spiritual masters who have been meditating, including Vishimitra, who was meditating, and suddenly Menaka came. All these were privileges that came in front of and they got distracted. So the point is, as we are traveling in the spiritual path, we need to become very clear in our discrimination and our choices. Hey, well, I'm coming to Puttaparthi. Nobody can stop me there. I can bring my family. I can be there. I can sit anywhere. Dances and drama, okay, if you can give it to me, yeah, fine enough. Otherwise, I'll get through the SSIOA and I'll get it organized. So by having this small little thing, how can we make such a big decision and abdicate a principle in which our teachers said to stay? That's how the rationalization should take place, and then make formal decision, as what you said and what many panelists said, individual decision. Finally, it is me and my teacher. And how should I do it? Don't get influenced by people. Even this attempt. Now, let me tell you, those devotees, because some questions have come. Oh, why is it that you need to go around convincing people? Why is it that? No, it's not convincing. We all are here sacrificing time and energy and effort because we got 100 other things to do. But we are here doing our duty, providing the information. And as Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, now you consider. That's all. The final thing, he never said follow. He said, now you consider. So our job is to lay it all out nicely and beautifully. Now you pick and choose what you want and make that decision. That is spirituality in action. Yeah, Saira.
Thank you. I just want to ask Brother Venkat if he wanted to comment on this, because I think this is quite an important point. Brother Venkat, did you have anything more to add to that?
Sure. I want to just add two things to it. The first is to go back to the Cheesecake Challenge. As I said, we all should keep in mind the difference between what is ideal versus what is actually being offered. Always in mind. The second is the Cheesecake Challenge. And before I mentioned about the threats or the bribes or the offers of benefits and privileges, remove all that from the table and let's see what happens. That's the Cheesecake Challenge. Another version of this Cheesecake Challenge is how power starts playing into this game. One of the main reasons, when they walked out, when Ratnakar walked out of the negotiations, shut the door and told us, don't call me, the main difference between our terms of reference is the vesting of authority. If we think about various religious bifurcations and the differences of opinion that created different branches of Protestantism or of Islam, it is based usually on the word of God, what they think is the word of God. This is not about the word. We worship the same God. We all said the same Sai Gayatri. We believe in the same discourses Swami gave. We keep referring to the same discourses, but it's about authority. When that authority was removed, unfortunately, they walked out. So that is the Cheesecake Challenge, which shows that when something is taken out, they're gone. So what is it that they want? I'm not against authority, but if it is authority that dismantles a divine organization structure, then we can't stand by it. That is called bhakti. And I want to make that distinction that it is not stubbornness. It is not, why don't you just give up and join? Yeah, we can give up a lot of things. We can give up a lot of things in the interest of unity, but will you ever give up God's words? That is the test. That is the true test. And that is the question right now. If bhakti is being derided as stubbornness, then that is when viveka is lacking. That is when we don't understand what bhakti is. And I want to be very clear on that. The second thing I want to mention is that the call for unity. So when there is, and if you give me time later on, Sister Bhavna, I want to talk about some myths that are floating around. But right now, I just want to talk about cause for unity.
Sorry, can I just say, because it's 12:30, can I ask you to actually reflect on those myths? Because I think they are important. And please, all the people, devotees who have joined us today, please bear with us, because we will take a little bit more of your time. But I think it is really important for you to hear this in terms of the myths that even though Brother Venkat is unwell, that he will now go through. So can I just ask you to talk through them? Please.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So let me go straight to the myths. There are some myths that are floating around. And as I said, the reason I want to clarify is so that we have clarity in our mind. We don't want to take the approach, although it is easy to take an approach of threats and making phone calls, threatening the lives of people, or no, we don't want that. None of us wants that. And we want to see what is there in these, what's the merit of this division that is being caused. So there are some myths that are floating around as part of the attempts to recruit people. The first thing, and you've seen this in the acceptance letter coming out of India, that the Central Trust claims, the Global Council is the same as the Central Trust, but it claims that it has a connection with Bhagavan, while the SSIO doesn't. Come back to Bhagavan is what they say. There's no back to Bhagavan. We all already belong to Bhagavan. The SSIO's connection with Bhagavan comes from the time of its creation, several decades ago. 1965 was the first Sai Center set up with Bhagavan's explicit permission in Sri Lanka. And Swami said 1969, go have an annual general body meeting to that country, in Sri Lanka. So our relationship with Bhagavan and our connection started then. 2003, Swami created the Prashanti Council. 2006, he created the World Foundation. Then he guided it, he nurtured it. He even the bylaws, every sentence he read and he made editorial changes, removed some, put some other statements and so on. This went on till 2011 when he left his body. This is a connection that has remained, and we have all of you have been part of this. None of you is a new person. I'm not trying to convince someone who has never known who Sathya Sai Baba is to say, go there or come here. You're all part of us. You're all part of SSIO. You've been there, so you've seen it. 50 years, more than 50 years we've done this. I don't want, comparisons are odious. But I don't want to be odious. But the fact of the matter is, the Global Council is a creation by man. That's the difference. But I don't want you to say, I'll stay with SSIO for that difference. I want you to understand that the promise that is being made in the Global Council is not what it is. And that difference, only you can figure it out. All of the material that you need, the material that was shown here, it's there in our website. And I urge you to go there and you'll find all these documents. You'll find the comparison of the terms of reference. You'll find the chronology of meetings and communication that was done. You'll find all this, you'll find every bit. In fact, you'll even find the first terms of reference that they proposed. And so it's a nice history. You can go and look at it. Even if you made up your mind, go and look at it. The second myth that is floating around is that, as Brother Leonardo did, on the second day, he was asked to replace Dr. Narendranath Reddy by the Central Trust. And on the fourth day, he was asked, in a phone call, he was told by Naganand that this is a done deal. There's nothing to talk about. But I want to say something. One of their claims, which is a myth, is that Dr. Narendranath Reddy was appointed to the Prashanti Council and the World Foundation by the Central Trust. I want to be very clear on this, and these are documented in the minutes of the meeting of the World Foundation. Dr. Reddy's appointment in Prashanti Council and the World Foundation was made personally, physically by Bhagavan. There can be no contest in this. Second, yes, the officers of the SSIO are all appointed according to the bylaws that Swami has established, not a man has established. It is Swami who has established the bylaws of the World Foundation, how to appoint people. And that procedure is followed. Nowhere in that procedure is there a role for the central trust. And this is in writing. It's available again in that website. There's another myth that is floating around, that a lot of countries have left the SSIO. These are all strategies. Let's not use these strategies. We've all had careers, and this is not about thumping your chest and winning a battle of I have so many people versus so many people, but let us be grounded in truth. And part of that is we still have 107 countries. Many of those countries, part of them may have gone to Global Council. But remember, it's not about how many countries go. It's about your conscience. It's about how you feel. And the question that Sister Bhavna asked about, will there be two organizations? I don't want that. And that's why the SSIO says, you can belong to both, it's fine. But they don't want that. It's either us or them. That's the way. You're either with us or against us policy that was written in that email. So we have to be careful about that. If we don't want two organizations, let's not do that. Stay with the organization that allows one organization. Right? Kotahi Matu in Maori. We are one. So the other thing that a myth that's floating around is Dr. Narendranath Reddy does not want a connection with Prashanthi Nilayam. There's nothing that can be farther from that truth. And they're trying to find reasons why you should not be with the SSIO when you've been there for 50 years or more. Dr. Narendranath Reddy gave a talk in Kulwant Hall with the blessings of the Central Trust about 5 mandates. It's still there on YouTube. The 5 mandates, one of the mandates is the importance of Prashanthi Nilayam and our irrefutable, undeniable connection with Prashanthi Nilayam. We are part of Prashanthi Nilayam. Our connection to Swami is eternal. Okay, let no one change that. And let me ask you this. On the day, maybe 2 years from now, when you're allowed to go by law to India and visit Prashanthi Nilayam, will you, as a member of a global council, really be happy when your brother or sister is asked to stand outside? Is that who you are? Okay. The other myth that I want to talk about is this call for so-called unity. I want to be very clear. Bhagavan has given us 5 human values, right? Sathya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. What is missing there? Why is unity not a human value? Call for Sathya, I can understand. In the name of Sathya, join us. In the name of Prema, join us. In the name of Dharma, join us. In the name of Ahimsa, join us. They're not saying any of those. They're saying in the name of unity, which is not a human value. Why? The reason is that supposing I want to go kidnap someone, and I come knock on your door and say, hey, join me. I want to commit this crime. Or I want to do this that Swami would not approve of. Join me. If you don't join me, that's going against unity. And I tell you this, what will you say? I'm not going to answer this question. It's up to you to answer. What will be your reply? Do you have the strength? Do you have the spiritual gumption to stand up and say, you can call me what you want. I stand for human values. Unity is not so important when it's predicated on something other than human values. That is not unity. We are one. The call of we are one must be based on being united in human values. If we discard the human values, we discard our divine nature. So the call for unity must be viewed in that measure.
Sorry, brother, I just wanted to make sure that the point about unity is clear, that you're not actually saying that unity is not important. That's not the
Correct.
point you're making.
Correct.
Because unity is still critical for all of us.
Absolutely. But unity based on human values. If it is unity in an action that divides us, if it is unity in an action that is criminal, taking intellectual property and misusing it and so on. If it's unity that is based on actions that are adharmic, yes, that is not the unity we want. See, the word unity has so many connotations, based, depending upon what it's based on. That's why it's not a human value. Swamis, we can't question the divine
It's an
intelligence
outcome.
that gave us that. It's an outcome, exactly.
Outcome.
It's not a value, it's an outcome.
No.
And therefore, we have to think, what is that outcome based on? But more importantly, we really have to question ourselves. Who am I? Am I a spiritual being who has the strength at this time of divine test to stand up to a call for unity when I realize that that unity is not based on Swami's principles? We have to stand up, and it's very difficult. I understand that it's difficult.
Yes.
And there are people who are standing up to it. Sorry, sister. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I'm just wondering how long, how many more minutes you need, because I do want to sort of go to, sorry about that, but I do want to go about asking a question about our future generation, because they are the most important asset that we have in our organization.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, I sort of feel I'm the past. You know, the young adults are our future, and they're the ones we need to nurture and work and make sure that they are part of the organization. So, and it is important, I suppose, it's really important to consider their needs, you know, separate to what the adults think, because as I understand, the young adults think very differently to you and me. You know, and I think they are the risk factor in the organization. Now, currently, I know in Australia, they're straddling across both organizations. They're, you know, and they are sort of trying to disregard the dissonance that's happening outside and trying to maintain some kind of connection with each other. Now, how do you, you know, sort of see it as being at a cliff edge? Now, how do you, any one of the panelists, you or whoever feels is the right person to answer this, how do you feel that we can nurture them to sort of come towards being engaged fully with the organization?
Sister, I really agree with you in everything except that you're not the future. You too are the future. And so are we all. But I have a lot of respect for young adults. And the reason is I've talked to many of them, and I have seen the struggles that they're going through. They are unwitting hostages in this situation, and it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. In this meeting right now, I give them a big group hug. No matter where you belong, know that you're loved. Know that you're loved. Know that we understand your actions, and we understand what you want to do. We are not ostracizing you. We are not blaming you for anything. Know that. In many countries, the young adults have expressed that they want to be part of the SSIO, and we always welcome them, as Brother Anupom mentioned. We always welcome them. But unfortunately, where they belong to wants to segregate. It turns out, you know, either you belong to us, either with us or against us policy. What this does is it really tears the heart of the young adults, and we must stop to think about the consequences of our words and action. I can come out at a time in the world such as now and say, I have won a battle. But let's think about the cost. At what cost, right? Number one is the cost of what happens to our own people. We gave them, the young adults, a pledge of love. We gave them a pledge of unity. They were united in a happy family. And the only reason people walked out of this negotiation is because of lack of power or authority that was denied to them by Swami's structure and function. So, whatever be the reasons, we have to keep one thing in mind. We are responsible for that heartbreak. We cannot run away from that. And let us not exclude one from the other. Let us be one. Again, that Maori saying, Kotahi Matu, is so important. We are one. Let the burden of guilt, anguish, and anxiety in our young adults be removed. No matter what our differences of opinion, let's take care of our children. That's very important.
Yes,
Leonardo.
Mr. Bhavana.
Sure.
Yes, I want to, because the Central Ratnakar brings one time and again, the same concern about the future generations. As we said, no one can prevent us from going to Prasanthi Nilayam, neither can they prevent our children, grandchildren, grandchildren. So the future generations will always be able to go to Prasanthi Nilayam. It is not that if you don't join the Global Council, you will be damned, you will be cursed, and your children will not be able to go to Prasanthi Nilayam. This is false, you know. So they are creating a fear that does not exist, because no one can close. They can close the door to us to speak to them, but they cannot close the door to us to go to Prasanthi Nilayam, not to the future generations. And let me assure you, if we and our children and the future generations put into practice the divine command, the divine teachings, we don't have to be afraid about anything.
Mr. Bhavna, could I just raise one point, if I may?
Sure.
There was a talk by a former student, and I forget who it was, and he was speaking once of an occasion where Swami was speaking to his students, and they were all telling him, "We love you, Swami, we love you, Swami, we love you, Swami." And on that occasion, Swami said, "You don't love me." And I think they were all taken aback by that answer. And he said, "You like me. If you love me, you will implicitly follow what I tell you to do." And so my answer to your question about the young adults is, as Venkat said, you know, we embrace you, but ultimately you have to make your own decisions. And I would just urge all the young adults, when they make the decisions, follow Swami's teachings implicitly. And, you know, we're talking a lot in this conversation about Prasanthi Nilayam. For me personally, more important than that is Bhagwan himself. And he has said many a times that people, you know, they want what I have come to give, but they don't want me. And I would simply say, follow implicitly Swami's words, because Swami is not here in physical form. His words are his form. His words are his legacy to us. And that's all we have. If we lose that, we lose everything. And that is why when you hear us talk about the divine command, why that's so important to us. Because his divine command, his words, is his embodiment. So I would simply say, implicitly follow what the Guru says. Sadan.
If I may just, I just wanted to add just one sentence, two sentences actually. There's this beautiful video, you can all go and look for it, when Swami's students and alumni were sitting there and they sang this beautiful song we all know about, Humko Tumse Pyar Kitna, right? So they all sing this and say, "We love you, Humko Tumse Pyar Kitna," and Swami says, I don't know if you've seen this.
Yes.
Exactly. Why did he say that?
Yeah.
You think he was joking?
Yeah.
No. We have to be careful, alert, and watch and make sure that our love is like this, not like this. Yeah. Sorry, Anupom.
So I have some practical answer, Sister Bhavna, may I?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so I see in the question answer, there are a lot of questions are being asked about the way forward.
Yes.
And here is our advice. Keep doing your work as you are doing now. Do not deviate. Go to your centers, run your programs as allowed by COVID. Right now, the entire world is being affected by this Delta variant and the new wave. Do your sadhana according to the current laws and policies, do your programs. Our work will go on as before. as we were working since 1960s up to November 2020. We'll go forward like same as before. We welcome everyone to come join us. We welcome them to sing bhajans with us, do the study circles, participate in our projects. Whatever the Global Council does is up to them. And we treat them with love and respect, but will not be part of them. So our position is very straightforward. We continue our personal sadhana and our personal dedication. And ask yourself the question, how does it matter whether you belong to this or that? How is it changing your life? If you think it's spiritually helping you, you should join that organization, whichever you think gives you more benefits.
So can I just in relation to that on a practical question is how can we continue to support members who remain as SSIO members but do not have a center?
I think you can open a center and there are procedures. I refer to Brother Krishnan, your zone chair for that, procedures to do that, and we'll continue to support them. In other words, it's our conviction that the organization will function just as it did until November 2020, when Nagananda announced the Global Council. It will continue. What they're doing is not within our control. They will appoint their own officers, they'll set their own guidelines, they'll set their own rules, etc. And they will ask for your trusts to be part of them so they can control the trusts and funds. But we have no trouble, we have no problem with that. Let them continue. And we'll continue, just like Mudanahali has continued. Just like Mudanahali has continued up to now, and our organization has gone through that period. Now we have the Global Council. Maybe a month down the road, you'll have another council coming up from somewhere. But our work will continue. This is Swami's organization. That is the basic fundamental truth. This is the one started by Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai, not by a simple Swami somewhere or a guru somewhere or a leader somewhere, So we'll continue as before.
If the members of a center decide to move to the Global Council, the center don't go with them. The center is part of the international organization. They have to open a new center with a different name. If a center is functioning in a house and the owner of the house decides to go to the Global Council, then they will have to find another location. That's it.
So can I ask in relation to where there are centers where majority have opted to, maybe 90% are going to the Global Council, only a small minority is remaining with the SSIO. What's your view around that in terms of where the center remains? It's literally
the members will go to the 90% of the members will go with the Global Council. The other 10% will remain with us, and they will make a new center. So the center will remain the Sri Sathya Sai International Organization Center. The other members will open a new center called Center of Global Council of this city or that city. So this happened, in many places in UK. Many centers went to the Global Council. Some decided to stay with us. We created a new structure there, new officers for the UK Council, new officers with the UK Trust, and they continue to work with the international organization.
Now, the other question is there an option for current SSIO centers to operate without any alignment to the SSIO or, well, I won't say GC because you can only answer for SSIO. So they continue operating, but without any alignment to the SSIO. So these are members who might be not going with the GC, but are unsure about being with the SSIO too.
Everybody is welcome in the international organization. If they want it, all the centers are already, and since many years, part of the international organization. So if a center exists now, it was, and it is part of the international organization. If they want to leave the international organization, not aligned with the Global Council, but leave the international organization, they should, if all the members of the center want to do that, they can do that and remain in that situation. We have now our online meetings, and I hope you have seen the Guru Purnima celebration. Everything is beautiful. They can participate. but we are not pushing anyone outside. Why are they going to leave the international organization if they don't want to join the Global Council?
Now,
Yes.
sorry.
May I just add to that?
Sure.
Swami established 3 organizations. He established the Indian organization, he established the Central Trust, and he established the International Organization. And they all have worked autonomously for decades, and we all know that. Swami himself said, and he gave his name to each of these organizations. He personally gave his name. And Swami himself said, never leave the organization. It is the unfortunate ones who leave the organization. And I would urge devotees to go and check that. And so when people talk about leaving the international organization which he created, have those words in mind. And you've heard from the panel say the international organization, as much as the Indian organization and the Central Trust, were institutions created by Bhagwan. The Global Council is a man-made institution. And so when Swami says, never leave the organization, it's the unfortunate ones who leave the organization. I would respectfully suggest he was referring to the organizations he created, he gave us, he lent his name to. I'll just share that, Sarah.
Thank you.
Sorry, may I add just one sentence
Sure,
to that question? Sorry, it'll be more than a sentence. The important thing is who we are. So if a center says, I want to be in SSIO, but not really call myself as SSIO, can we continue the center? The hallmark of SSIO is how important is our beloved Bhagavan's teachings. That is a hallmark. And at any cost, as you can see what is happening now, we are being flagellated, but we are standing firm and strong and sticking to Swami's teachings. Our hallmark is our beloved Swami's teachings and our bhakti. I don't want to comment on what the other hallmark is, but this is important for us. So you may say that you don't belong to the SSIO. That's not the important matter. The important matter is, do you follow Swami? So we don't want to have a center with our name and you have parties with mingling of girls and boys and do whatever it is that you want, or talk disparagingly about Swami's teachings and say that the Swami's divine command is an excuse of a command. It's our beloved Bhagavan. We will not tolerate that. If there is anything we will not tolerate in the interest of love and in the interest of devotion and in the name of bhakti, we will not tolerate maligning of our beloved Bhagavan. So that is not negotiable.
Thank you. I'm conscious it's 1 o'clock, so I just have 2 more questions, and please bear with us. So the first one is, we've had regular web presentation by members of the alumni and other devotees from Parthi and during this pandemic. So devotees belonging to the SSIOA now feel that they will not have access to these, or if they attend, they will be miscounted as supporting the Global Council. Thoughts? Any one of the panelists, or Suresh?
This is, I think, Venkat, because it's IT and things like that.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Okay. Members, they've been having presentations from the alumni from Parthi webinars. I think there was one recently that was done. And they've had access to all those till now. So now at this point, it looks like they are feeling if they do attend it, they are going to be misconstrued as being or either supporting the GC or miscounted as being part of GC.
As I mentioned, one of the hallmarks of the SSIO is adherence to Swami's command and teaching. That Swami himself has said in a discourse is what makes us his devotee. So, you attend someone's talk or lecture. What is key is the content of that talk or lecture and what it does to you. If I say that I belong to SSIO and tomorrow I want to go smoke a cigarette or smoke marijuana, well, it's legal in California, but if in some other place, if I want to do that, is there anything wrong? Well, what is wrong is what it does to you. If it takes you away from your spiritual commitment to Bhagavan's teachings, there's a problem, which you have to sort out. So listening to someone talk is not the issue. It's the content of the talk. If it's a rabble-rousing talk, if it is a slanderous talk, if it's a talk that goes away from Swami's teachings of 5 human values. This test, this divine test is about nothing else but the human values. United in Sai is being united in human values. Do not sacrifice that.
Going to your question, sister, there is no problem to listen to a talk given by alumni or any spiritual devotee. If a good devotee, every night I listen through YouTube talks by members, alumni, or members that now might be part of the Global Council, but I listen to their talks and I enjoy them. If you listen to a spiritual talk, it's not a problem at all.
We have satsangs. I personally called 2-3 members of the Global Council people and invited them to our satsang. They were formally with us, but they were feeling too embarrassed to join us back. I asked them to join because I said we are talking about Swami and nobody else. And they came and joined us. So I think that's okay. But the whole point is that how people use these sessions to hopefully not influence. And that's the only point. Second point is the young content.
The content.
Young adults, I just want to quickly say, we have been constantly engaging with young adults here. The way they think and the way they process their thinking is quite different. We need such, you have to have a group of people who are sympathetic to whatever it is, but we need to engage with them and constant engagement. And you need to help them to think also, because the processes of thinking also needs to be.
Suresh, can you pull your mic closer to your mouth? Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. We need to, sorry. We need to continuously help them to know how to think as well, and continuous engagement is necessary, especially young adults, because they're going through a very, very, what you call distressful period and confusing period. So we need to help them. So satsang is very critical and very important. So a group of people whom you have must engage, and seniors and elders like us should help them to also go through this.
So we might take you up on that.
Thank you so much. I'll be very available for this purpose.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Now, I think this is the last question, and this is for Ashok. We've gone through the terms of reference multiple times, but if you can briefly highlight in just 3 sentences, if I can restrict you to that.
Asking a lawyer to restrict himself to 3 sentences.
That is why I'm asking him, because I know he's a lawyer, so it might go beyond. So 3 sentences. The crux of the ask of pertaining to the concept paper of the GC.
They want to control all trusts around the world. Ask yourself why. They want to control appointments at the most senior level of the international organization and all senior officers. Ask yourself why. And in their original paper, when they said the GC must follow all instructions, guidance, orders of the Central Trust, and must do so expeditiously, ask yourself why they created a global council, only to say in their very own document that you must listen to what the Central Trust says. So these are the 3 points. And I would simply say is, go to the intentions behind that document. And if you follow through the history and all that we've talked about, that intention remains today. Yes, Saram, just to prove lawyers can do it.
Oh my God, fantastic.
Lawyers can do it.
It's going to rain. It's going to rain.
I know, it's fantastic. All right, I think we have, I think there are still a number of questions that we haven't been able to address, but I will keep them aside for another time if we do require. And we do appreciate, absolutely appreciate from our hearts the time I know that you all are spending. And I know for Leonardo, it's probably midnight by now for you. So you have spent an amazing amount of time trying to support us to get to this point. So it's much, much appreciated. But are there any, in one sentence or one 2 words, anything that you want to convey to your Sai brothers and sisters. All
Yes, I have one. Please.
Okay, wow,
This is
okay.
my last humble comment.
Okay.
Please continue praying to Bhagavan. Please continue praying for love and guidance, and stay with him. Stay at his feet. All this will pass. Stay at his feet, continue, think it over, and do what your heart tells you to do. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you.
Sairam, Bhavana, I really suggest what is important now is that there may be devotees and members who might be still confused a little bit. For example, there's one point here, can the evidence of communication be displayed for transparency? I think every document that is now being shown here must be expressed. And if anybody wants to access that, it must be shown. Every document, everything.
Absolutely.
That's number one. I think that's one point that has come out here. I think what is critical is nobody should make any decision if you have a doubt. Clear the doubt, clarify, and after that you can make it happen. The point here is that we have been in the whole overall very, very open, transparent, and as sincere as we can be. In fact, many of us who are in this panel, whenever somebody says something also, even among us, we'll say, do you have proof? Can you show me the paper? Who has said this? Who has said that? That is how our mind says. We never speculate or never say it just because we want to have people to side us. That is not what we want. We want truth, and we ourselves fight for that, even among ourselves. Who said that? Where's the paper? What is the proof? What is the evidence? Don't simply speculate. And this is how our rigorous training has been. So devotees who want any document, please ask through your leaders and we will give it to, definitely every document will be given to you. Any other burning question that you possibly have that makes you want to decide, then that is the best time to ask, because it is very difficult to get all these panel speakers coming from all over the world. All of us have got so many things to do and our lives are, but we have been spending all this while because our intense yearning is that nobody in this world should make a wrong judgment and wrong decision based upon or misled information. I think this is what we are interested in. Number two, and this is something that is burning, and I want to ask this point. Hey guys, let me ask you this question. When you came into the Sai Baba movement in the first instance, did you tell anybody else? Most of us came in quietly. You didn't even tell your own family members. You came quietly. Your office people also didn't know. You came quietly, you participated, and you went off. Why is it that if you have decided, somebody has decided to go and join, you do that independently, you do quietly? Why is it that you need to inform 100 people, pull these people, pull that people? What is the necessity? We don't do that. Why do you do that? So the point is, if you want to make a decision, if you want to go quietly, go by all means. But don't disturb the peace and happiness of the others and cause this confusion, because it is not proper, it is not ethical, it is not even moral and right. You have the right to make independent decisions, but don't influence and confuse other people. Right.
That was more than 2 sentences.
Thank God for the lawyers.
I know,
Thank God for the lawyers.
I know. He took your role.
sorry.
No, so can I go to, I think, Brother Venkat?
I cannot add to perfection.
Okay.
I stop it. But I want to end at least with Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. We may, as you know, it's very important that we, if you want to leave, as Brother Suresh said, go ahead. But please don't threaten, don't engage yourself or mix with people who want to threaten or offer bribes or, cause divisions. We've had enough pain, enough heartbreaks. Put an end to that.
Thank you.
Mr. Bhavna, may I just say something as my last 1 minute? I find we're reliving the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita. Because chapter 1, the despondency of Sai devotees. Chapter 2 to chapter 18, give up all desires, give up all attachments, and have single-minded devotion to the Lord. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Now, I know I do want to go to Krishnan for last comment, but Leonardo, did you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to tell everybody that we should have always faith and confidence in Swami. Don't be afraid. And I send to you all my love. I hope I will be able to visit you soon again.
Thank you. Krishnan, as a zone chair, would you like to say some final words?
Thank you. Thank you, Bhavana. We wanted this session to provide all our devotees with information, with the correct information on why the SSIO has taken this stand. And I think in the last couple of hours, we have achieved that famously. And to all our panelists, thank you so much for doing that and answering the questions concisely and to the point where everyone can understand. I feel this has been a heart-to-heart connection with our devotees, and I'm sure all the members in Zone 3 will really appreciate your efforts. Brother Leonardo, I know it's late for you. Brother Venkat, I'm so sorry about your viral infection. I hope it gets better soon. And Brother Ashok, despite your grievance in the family, you've come and joined us. Truly appreciate it. And on behalf of all Zone 3 members, our deepest condolences on your loss. With those words, dear brothers and sisters, Jai Sai Ram to all of you.
So just for information for all the participants, the session has been recorded, so it will be available for you to view at any time. And if your questions haven't been answered today, please understand they won't be lost. We will be keeping them on our register. And as we go through the next few weeks, we'll decide, where to from here with those questions. Now, with that, thank you again for making the time to come and attend. And thank you to Swami for giving us this opportunity to be here together as a Sai family. Can I pass it on to Vignesh, please, to close us off with a prayer?
Om Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.